we have our representative from Ohio State Tax to join us as well. Jack, if you would share.
Cheryl, thank you. I'd like to thank Representative Grossman and Hottinger for the chance to be part of this remarkable event today. This, I believe, is the beginning of Ohio making its step back to competitiveness. We've had a 30-year slide in our state's economic fortunes, and this is the day that we start changing that and moving back again. My name is Jack Boyle. I'm chairman of a group called Citizens United to End Ohio's Estate Tax. For the past year and a half, we've been circulating petitions around the state to put a measure before the General Assembly to do exactly what the bill that will be introduced today will do. And we are very, very pleased to see us get to this point. The previous speakers have talked a little bit about the perversities of Ohio's estate tax, and we have lots and lots of data and studies and that kind of thing. If anybody from the media is interested, we've got copies of different things of studies by the Department of Revenue in Connecticut that demonstrated that the estate tax drove people physically to move out of the state. In working over the last year and a half on this issue, we put together a coalition of people. We have 1,600 volunteers in every county and every community in the state. We have more than 80,000 people sign the petitions. We had a coalition of groups that helped us and supported us, endorsed our campaign. The Farm Bureau, of course, the Ohio Manufacturers Association, Ohio Funeral Directors Association, the Cattlemen's Association, many, many groups. Beyond just business groups, though, the Ohio Christian Alliance endorsed our campaign. I think someone made the point that this tax is essentially unfair. It is double, triple, quadruple taxation. The assets that are taxed by the estate tax have been taxed many, many times before. All virtually of the grassroots organizations that sort of popped up here in the last political cycle, the Tea Party groups in the 912s, those groups also endorsed the campaign. And so it is a remarkable kind of coming together, if you will, people from all different parts of the state, all different areas that realize that this is the time to start this movement back for Ohio. We've had various comparisons about how bad our tax is with other states that have it. The fact of the matter is 30 states don't have any tax whatsoever. When someone passes away, it simply is not an issue. And so, we're recognizing our estate tax represents essentially a 7% incentive for capital to not come to Ohio or to leave Ohio. And when we take away that incentive, that capital has no longer that disincentive to contribute to our economy. Representative Hottinger mentioned Larry Wilpert, and I want to mention him also. I worked with him while he was still in the House, and he was one of the early people who continually worked on this issue. He was very helpful, as we kind of got our campaign up and running too. And so, when we pop the champagne bottle, when this happens, we'll certainly want to have Larry here. In any case, this is a great day for Ohio. I'm glad to see this process start.
Thank you, Jeff, very much. We would be happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
At yesterday's inaugural speech, the governor got thunderous applause when he said, "We will rebuild Ohio cities." But the cities tell us, if you repeal the estate tax, it will gut a very prominent source of funds for them. What do you tell Ohio cities when you say, "Well, we're going to take away this source"?
Well, as a 12-year mayor and 2-year council president, I can tell you when it was time for the budget, we never counted on that money. It was what we considered a bonus. And if it came, it was wonderful. If it didn't, I don't think you put your eggs in a basket if you can't count on this being there. In our discussions, it's approximately 2 years before the effect of this bill will take effect on cities and financial situations or revenue. And I think that you're going to see important goals accomplished on behalf of the state to reinvent how we do business in Ohio. And I believe that with that will come the opportunity for municipal governments to make up for this and to also be prosperous and move forward. It comes back to this comfort level of this is how we've always operated in Ohio. It's a new day. We have got to be innovative and think outside the box on how we're going to move forward on behalf of the people of Ohio.
that. Bill, if I could just add that, you know, I like Representative Grossman, come from a local government background, as do most of my colleagues here. And I'm certainly sensitive and sympathetic to the situation that they're in. But I have to say that I'm much more sensitive and sympathetic to the hardworking Ohioans, you know, who have had to endure this tax for too many years. And you can make the argument that Ohio's local governments have unjustly benefited for too long because of this unfair tax. And, you know, betting on how many people in your local jurisdiction or who is going to die in any given year is just not sound budgeting process. And so we believe that this is part of what we're going to see in the days and weeks and months ahead, part of the reforming of government on the state and local level and how those services are going to be delivered, and that this should be part of the package of reform of local government services.
How much do states and local governments, on average, receive from the state?
The average for the last few years, you know, the state of Ohio is one of two states that shares the estate tax with local governments, Ohio and Pennsylvania. How it's structured in Ohio is that the deceased person, 80% of the tax goes to their local jurisdiction where they live. The state receives 20%. And so over the last several years, the average has been between $54 million and $72 million to the state of Ohio. The average is actually $62 million. Last year was close to the average. It was $60 million. And the impact on the local governments has been between $226 million and $287 million. With the statewide average being $245 million a year. Last year, again, it was close to it being $240 million. So the impact of the state, you know, it depends on how many people die. You know, I think last year it was 8,000 states that were taxed in the state of Ohio out of 110,000 people who died. And so it depends on how many people die and how great, you know, their wealth is. But the average impact for the state of Ohio is going to be about $60 million a year, to the local governments, about $240 million a year.
Could I just add quickly, I'm sorry, that amounts to around 1/10 of the state revenue, even in this fiscally challenged time that we have, and somewhere around maybe a little bit over 1/2% of local government revenues. This is a very small piece of the total revenue. And again, we have some statistics that if anybody would like a handout on it. So,
Thank you, Jim.
Representative Grossman, did
Yes.
you say it would take 2 years? What's the timetable for how this would be implemented?
This would be effective January 1st, 2011. But when you think of the estates that are in probate at this point in time, it would be approximately 2 years before the governmental agencies would feel any kind of impact from this change. And my goal, my wish, my desire, and I believe what will happen as we turn Ohio around in a very positive direction, there will be other opportunities for local government to certainly create other revenue streams that are solid and dependable and responsible on behalf of people of Ohio.
But the effective date would be January 1st of this year.
Yes.
But because of the way probate works, it would be 2 years.
For those people that were deceased in 2010 and prior to. We all know the larger the estate, the longer it takes for that process.
Cheryl, one key point, and it's a big point, is that you should talk to every nonprofit and charity. You know, I was a former commissioner, and the nonprofits are so important to provide the services that we can't. And you know, quality people continue to give, but we lose those charitable contributions. I mean, you talk about Dave Thomas. You should see where Dave Thomas's contributions that were going to Ohio and became going to Florida. So I mean, and they keep those numbers. Talk to any quality nonprofit charity, and they lose millions of dollars.